Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Yoruba Review series. I am Holapeju Ayola, and I'll be your host for tonight. We're going to be looking into the case study of Turkey and USSR regarding the homogeneous, how these states or this, in particular, this country, Turkey, for instance, became an homogeneous space. Just a moment, sorry, there's a glitch. Sorry about that. So we'll be looking into USSR and Turkey as a state that became an homogeneous space. And we'll be contrasting that with Nigeria, which is a country of nations, and how it's been going towards situation whereby they're trying to turn it into an homogeneous country, which is quite dangerous because it's either done through a genocide or an ethnocide, which is what happened in Turkey. And Are will be going in detail and contrasting it, as well as going into a very, very in-depth history of Turkey and USSR before it was balkanized into different countries. And with me tonight, it's my moderator and co-host, Mr. Jolomi, who's on space and will be moderating the Q&A, as well as Mr. Montero, who is also on space. So I will be introducing the speaker for tonight, the president of 2RF Worldwide, Are Oladimeji Bolarinwa. Are, are you ready for this lecture tonight in order to enlighten us further?
To greet the people of on Facebook, on TikTok, and maybe we can do that while I try to fix one or two things here before we start. Madam Beju, I said,
hello, Are.
Yeah, I said we should greet. I said
Okay.
we should greet people on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and yeah.
Hello, everyone. Again, it's just getting ready. We're sorry for a little bit late today, and like I said, we're preparing for a very exciting lecture because I believe this is going to be very enlightening and insightful regarding to us trying to ensure that Nigeria is more in line with ethno-linguistic. We are more structured to an ethno-linguistic line, and we're having this discussion tonight in order for us to understand why it's very important for us to have that particular structure and why we're facing the challenges we're facing right now, and why these challenges has been going on for a long time since the colonization of Nigeria, since the amalgamation of Nigeria precisely. So, are you ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. All right. So I'll be handing over to Are, who will be going in depth into this case study. Thank you, everyone, for being patient. And now, moving on, passing on to Are.
Thank you so much. It's very cold here right now, and it's you can see this is the part of the time. Many of our people across the world, especially in the Western world, and in very cold areas of Asia where we keep our hairs in order to be a kind of insulators for us in order to be able to keep us through the very cold winter. Um, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here once again to speak about a very important topic, which is I'm going to summarize the topic. It is creating a nation. How do you create a nation out of diverse ethnic nations? And I summarize it to be genocide, the tool as a tool of nation building. I really want to thank my wonderful program director of the Yoruba Rono series, in the person of Madam Peju. I want to thank that I hear the singles that are on Twitter Space, Lumi, Mr. Lewis Oluwole, and those have. It's been 12 months from now, December, Saturday, we've been here. We started with to be able to preach this message to our people, which is the message again the people that supported it. It is impossible for us in this message of nationalism. Those who comment.
Sorry, Ari. Ari, sorry, moment. So we're having some technical glitches. Just a moment, please. Sorry, just a moment.
Okay.
All right, you can go on now, Ari. You can go on. Please bear with us. Ari is having some technical glitches. Just bear with us, please.
Yeah, I'm okay. So we don't know what's going on with the internet today, but we've been having a lot of issues as regards to the internet. But we still have to do what we have to do. We are so sorry, but we believe the technical crew are doing what they can do behind the best, doing their thing in order to ensure that we have a beautiful and wonderful conversation. I'm going to be in a very relaxed mode today because I believe people need to understand what we are discussing in as easy a time as possible. And I have to admit, the message, most of the lectures we do every Saturday, even though it's Yoruba centric, is for all indigenous people, not just in Africa, across the world. It's for all Nigerians, indigenous people of Nigeria that do not want to lose their land, that do not want to be subjugated, that do not want to be destroyed, and for the entire people, the littoral states in West Africa who are watching with amusement, who are bemused with what is happening in the Sahel, and to a lot of our people in Asia, the Middle East, and to people across the world in general. The summary of the lecture today is genocide. The summary of the topic is genocide as a tool of nation building. We have to understand that narrative is extremely critical in politics, and the terminologies being used is extremely critical in understanding the situation of things and what is probably going to can happen in the world. Once again, I greet you all in the name of Oludumare. I greet you all in the name of the Haitians. I greet you all in the name of the creator of Ile-Ife civilization and the entire Yoruba race. My name is Oladimeji Bolarawa, the president of Think Yoruba First organization. We are discussing a very important topic today. And we are going to using juxtaposing Nigeria with powerful civilizations across the world. I'll be using USSR, Russia, and Turkey as case study. Is Nigeria a nation, or Nigeria is a country of ethnic nations? This is why we need to actually ask the right question so that we can understand why some ethnicities and some regions in Nigeria are behaving the way they are behaving. This lack of proper understanding of the Nigerian problem is why Nigeria is what it is. Is Nigeria a nation, or Nigeria a country of ethnic nation? Nigeria is not a nation. For you to make Nigeria a nation, there must be genocide. That is the bitter truth. And what is genocide? What is ethnocide? What is linguicide? These are terms. These are terms that doesn't look good. These are terms that means that people, some either language, people, land have to be replaced, have to go extinct. They have to become an inconsequential minority. Whether in linguistic terms, whether in cultural terms, whether in political terms, whether in geopolitical balance. So this is what genocide is all about. Which is why some of us have always been talking about restructuring and federalism as a panacea to the Nigerian problem. If many Nigerians actually understand that those that continue to call Nigeria a nation and continue to say that Nigeria must not be restructured, that many of us will realize that those people are the enemies of the indigenous people in Nigeria. Because to say you are not going to restructure Nigeria and to continue to say Nigeria is a nation, not a country of diverse ethnic nation, is to be having genocidal agenda against the indigenous people that make up Nigeria. You look at United Kingdom. United Kingdom is not a nation. It's a country of many ethnic nations, like the Scottish nation, the Irish nation, the English nation, and the Welsh nation. That is United Kingdom. You also look at Switzerland. Switzerland is not a nation. It is a country of ethnic nation. They have a country. They are loyal to a country. That is why you have in Switzerland 4 major ethnic nations. the Germans, the French, the Italians, and the Roma. So those are the ethnic nations that make up Switzerland. You look like Belgium. Belgium is not a nation. For you to say you want to forge Belgium into a nation, you have to annihilate one ethnicity needs to dominate other ethnicity. You need to subjugate and destroy the different ethnic components and fuse them into one. In Belgium, people don't know this. Belgium has 3 major ethnicities. From the French people, we have the French-speaking part of Belgium, the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium, and the German-speaking part of Belgium. That is what makes up Belgium as an ethnic nation. That's what makes up Belgium as a country. Now you look at Nigeria. Is Nigeria a nation or a country of ethnic nations? Nigeria is a country of ethnic nations that has different pre-colonial empires, different pre-colonial kingdoms, different pre-colonial civilizations that have been there for thousands of years. So it is very genocidal to be calling Nigeria a country, calling Nigeria a nation. This is not an unpatriotic statement. It is a statement of facts. It is a statement of intellectual position. It is factual. But from 1914, there have been some people who are motivated by different ideologies in order to turn a diverse nations into a country or into a monolithic nation. And the question is, who is going to survive? Which ethnicities are going to be wiped out within Nigeria? I saw a particular individual that said, if Nigeria is to adopt one uniform language, what language should we adopt? Why should Nigeria adopt a uniform language? Why? Belgium did not adopt a uniform language. Switzerland did not adopt a uniform language. Those are multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic countries. Why should Nigeria adopt a uniform language? Why should the Efik Ibibio people, because they are ethnic minority within Nigeria, have to be forced to give up their ethnicity and their identity because of a colonial creation, because of the British imperialism, because we want to create and forge an inorganic Nigerian nation. So these are the realities why many people, which I also fall into that category, believe that the only way to prevent a fiasco, a bloody showdown in Nigeria, is for Nigeria to be restructured along ethno-linguistic lines. There are powers that be within Nigeria who do not believe that Nigeria should be along ethno-linguistic lines. There are powers that be in Nigeria who believes that they need to destroy ethnic identity in Nigeria for them to create the Nigerian of their dreams. They are in powerful positions. They are in the military. They are in politics. They are in banking sector. And that is why in Nigeria, people demonize ethnic identity. People demonize indigenous languages. People demonize indigenous identity. People demonize ethnic solidarity. People demonize ethnic consciousness. People demonize indigenous rights. That is why, from one way or the other, you look at the history of Nigeria, whether the president is from the north or the president is from the south, is from the east, is from the west, there has been history of the Nigerian state committing genocide using state-organized violence against indigenous people at different times and periods. Should we talk about the killings that was committed against the people of the Middle Belt in 1961 in the Tiv riots, where over 50,000 people of the Middle Belt were killed, missing, and tortured, and captured, and kidnapped, and jailed because they were fighting. They were asking peacefully that they need their own Middle Belt region within Nigeria. That how can you keep us and place us using the colonial construct and colonial structure of Nigeria and say we are not tenants? and placed us under the Sokoto Caliphate that has always maimed, kidnapped, destroyed us, our ancestors, for the past 150 years? These were the questions that the people of the Middle Belt asked. And what happened? The federal government of Nigeria then, which was ruled with the NCNC-MPC merger, political alliance, crushed down and killed indigenous people of the Middle Belt. Should we also talk about the Ogoni massacre, where the indigenous people of Ogoni, which are currently in Rivers State, were saying, how can, look at our environment, look at our land, look at our environment, look at our land. It has been polluted, it has been destroyed due to oil spillage. How can you now say you want to take our oil, you want to take our gas, you want to take our resources without taking care of the indigenous people that own this land, that have been fishing? Their means of livelihood has been destroyed. What sort of federalism do we practice in Nigeria that does not put into recognition the indigenous people that own a land? That is internal imperialism that we've packaged to call patriotism. That's not patriotism, it is imperialism. But what did General Sani Abacha do? He killed thousands of people of Ogoni, and that great man with other wonderful leaders of Ogoni people, they were all jailed. That is another version, that is an example of genocide of indigenous people, because Nigeria refuses to understand that Nigeria is a country of ethnic nations. It is wrong to refer to the Yoruba race as a tribe. Yoruba race is an ethnic nation on its own, with over 100 million people across the world. It is wrong to be calling the Fulani a tribe. It is wrong to be calling the Hausa people a tribe. It is a misnomer to be referring to the Igbos as a tribe. Those things are wrong. They are ethnic nations in their rights, which is why we need to understand this narrative. We need to understand this sentiment, because it is the inability of them. I want to be very, very a little bit blunt. It is the inability of this generation of Black people all across the world, whether from the Caribbeans, to understand the world. That is why, and learn from the mistakes of other civilizations. That is why we've been at the bottom of the pyramid. We are bottom parallel across when it comes to geopolitical power and geopolitical power struggle. What we only do is to make ourselves happy and be telling ourselves we have potentials. The world is not going to wait for us. The people we are competing with are not going to wait for us. Europe learned the hard way. For close to 900 years, Europe was doing one thing. They could not separate religion from the states. They were building empires, they were crushing dissidents, and they were annihilating minorities. I'm going to give you a good instance what the three European empires did to the Slavs, to the people of Poland. What did these three European empires do to the people of Poland? After Poland was conquered 200 years ago, the Russian Empire, the German Empire, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they came together and said, we don't need to fight about the spoils of war. And what is the spoil of war? It is Poland. Let us take each part of Poland. The Russians, you take Eastern Poland. We, the Germans, we are going to take Western Poland. And we, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, we are going to take Southern Poland. That was what they did. And the Germans and the Russians started a state-sponsored genocide against the people of Poland. The Russians started the Russification agenda, while the Germans started the Germanification agenda. Now, what was the Russification agenda? The Russification agenda was very straightforward. The language, the indigenous language of the people of Poland was banned. They were forced to bear Polish names, Russian names. They were forced to give up their land, and a lot of Russians were settled in the area of Poland, in that area of Poland. The Germans did not do, in fact, the Germans went further. Germans, they were now mass migrating a lot of ethnic Germans to settle in that area of Poland. They were making sure that if you do not have German name, and what the only name you have was Polish name, you are not going to get access to social amenities like schooling, financial services within the German Empire. They made it, they even made some policies to encourage intermarriage between Polish people and ethnic Germans in order to totally erase the Poles from that area of Germany. And it worked. Millions of Polish people were assimilated and they became Germans till this very day. Till this very day. You also look at, that's why the Austrian Empire also did the same thing. That is why there are a lot of Germans in Austria that they have Slavic origin. This was the product of the genocidal policies after Poland was conquered by these three great powers. Today I'll be focusing. So this is an example of genocidal policies. But you look at Nigeria. Nigeria was, Chief Obafemi Awolowo argued and was saying we must not make the same mistake of Poland, of Europe. This was what was happening in Europe until the First World War and the Second World War. It was after the Second World War that the European powers have to sit down and say they were forced. It was America that forced them. The days of empire is over. The ethnic nations within Europe, the creation of the modern nation states, they must have their own country. So that was what led to the emergence of countries like Luxembourg, Latvia, and all these Lithuania, all these countries. That was what led to their emergence. And you have to understand that when we say that after Europe went to war, we are not talking about a civil war, a tribal war. We are talking about a world war. A world war. It was a world war, the First World War, that broke the Ottoman Empire into pieces. The breakage of the Ottoman Empire liberated a lot of Greek states in Cyprus, liberated the Greeks, liberated the Armenians, liberated the Arabs, liberated even some of the Persians. So you have to understand that for many, we must not go the route of bloody implosion. For us to understand that we need to do the needful and understand our peculiarity as a country of many ethnic nations. This is why a region in Nigeria is trying to bring medieval Sharia law, theocracy, across in a country that is practicing democracy. And when they try and defend that, they can't even defend it because they look crazy. Because how do you come around in a country like Nigeria that was built on Western civilization, and what you're talking about is you want to impose Sharia law. You want to, where you still have caliphate, you have the Boshe of Borno, Islamic Empire, and you are still going about telling yourself you are a patriotic Nigeria. It is something that's fundamentally missing. But these are the contradictions between the Nigerian states. These are the contradictions between Nigeria. These are the reality within Nigeria that we need to break down. Nigeria is beyond what you see. Nigeria is beyond the price of food, food and gari. What you have in Nigeria is beyond the ephemerals. It is a clash of civilization, a bloody and ruthless clash of civilization. And that is why some people believe that homogenizing Nigeria through any means necessary is what is going to create the Nigeria of their dreams. That is why when people say I'm a detribalized Nigeria, it makes no sense. When people say I'm a detribalized Nigeria, look at them as people that have mental illness. Because how can you be genociding yourself because of a British creation? The Scottish people have been in the United Kingdom for more than 800 years. You will never see a Scots king and a detribalized Scots. McTominay, the former Manchester United player, is Scottish. And if you see, they call him the Great Scotsman, even though he holds a British passport. The Scottish identity is like a tribal or ethnic identity within the United Kingdom. You look at Bales, that former footballer that played for Tottenham and later Real Madrid, Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale is Welsh. The Welsh are the original indigenous people of that area called United Kingdom before it was conquered by the Anglo-Saxons, who are Germanic people that came from mainland Europe. You need to understand, well, he's going to say, I am Welsh, even though he holds a British passport. So when has it become a crime for you to say, I am Yoruba, even though I hold a Nigerian passport? That does not mean you are not patriotic to Nigeria. We need to understand what is going on. In 1970s, there were debates, constitutional debates, as regards to Nigeria. And one of the suggestions of the Northern, of the Arewa nationalists at that conference was that Nigeria should equate ethnic identity to religious identity. And they were trying to lobby the Yoruba people, Yoruba Muslims, into that agenda. The Yoruba Muslims walked out and said, no, we know what you're trying to do. You are trying to use us to build your caliphate, your power, and turn the rest and subjugate the entire Yoruba race. Subjugate the rest of Nigeria. That is why they say, oh, the Muslims, oh, we the Muslims, oh, you're going to see the Fulanis, oh, we the Muslims. They have equated the Fulani hegemony with Islam. The same thing the Ottoman Empire started doing. When the Ottoman Empire conquered most of the Arab world, and they felt that how are they going to keep the Arabs in check? They invented pan-Islamism, which was you are Islam first. When that was what they were using to keep the Arabs in check. What they were using to keep the Armenian Greeks, who are Christians, the Armenians who are Christians, the Greeks who are Christians, the Hungarians who are Christians, many of the places in the Balkans who are Orthodox and Catholic Christians, they were pushing Ottomanism, which was, it doesn't matter, maybe you are a Christian or atheist, you are, once you are in the Ottoman Empire, you must be loyal to the Ottoman Empire. It was called Ottomanism. So in Eastern Europe and the Balkans, the Ottoman Empire was using Ottomanism as a means of coercion within the empire. In the Arab world, they were using pan-Islamism. So in the 19th century, the Arabs started to ask questions that started to question the Sultanate of Constantinople, of Istanbul, that you are actually, which was the Ottoman Empire, you are actually using pan-Islamism to promote Turkish supremacy. We are Arabs, but you are subjugating us. You are killing us. You've destroyed our leadership. You've made yourself the custodian of Islam. And this is not true. And that was how different nationalisms started happening across the Arab world. In Algeria, in Libya, in Egypt, in Syria, in the Arabian Peninsula. So when the First World War started, and the British and the French, they knew that if the Ottoman Empire was able to rally the entire Arab forces, it would be very difficult for them to defeat Turkey, to defeat the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottoman Empire also knew that they need pan-Islamism in order to be able to win the war. So what the Sultan did in the Ottoman Empire was said that the First World War was a war between the House of Islam and against the infidels. And he declared a jihad that all Arabs, all the Muslims in the Ottoman Empire, all the Muslims throughout the world must come together and join them. Because the Ottoman Empire was also trying to use the Muslims in British India and make them turn the British in Muslim India, the Muslims in British India, the Muslims in British Indonesia, and make them turn against the British, because there were a lot of Indian, a lot of Pakistanis, Bangladeshi Muslim soldiers within the British army. So Britain did something. Britain went to all the secessionist organizations and groups within the Ottoman Empire, people that have been dissidents, that have run to Europe to escape, to America, that have escaped, that have run away and said and told them, look, if you support us and join us to fight against the Ottoman Empire, we are going to liberate the Arabs out of the clutches of the Turkish people, and we are going to give Arabs their political freedom. That was what they said. That was where people like the current ruling dynasty of Saudi Arabia, Al Saud, that was how they became kings. It was because they became rebel leaders. They became rebel leaders. I want to cite an example. Just imagine Tompolo. The British comes to Tompolo and say, look, Tompolo, if you join us and fight against Nigeria, once the battle is over, we are going to make you the new king of the entire Ijaw race. That was what they did to a lot of Arab militants and rebel leaders. The same thing you see currently in Syria, where the European powers, they were able to use a former Al-Qaeda leader in the person of al-Jolani to declare war, to wage war against Assad. That once you help us to destroy the dynasty of Assad and fight, we give you the weapons, we give you, but just do our bidding. We will make you the new leader of Assad, of Syria. Al-Jolani and Assad, they are both Muslims, but they were able to play against each other because of interest. That was how the Arabs, they were able to propagate and propel and fuel. The British financed imperial Arab nationalism, which was what they used to destroy the backs of the Ottoman Turks in North Africa and the Middle East. That was how Turkey was destroyed in the First World War. And that was how you see, that was what led post-1918, the Sykes-Picot lines, the Sykes-Picot division of the Middle East. That was how countries like Libya, Algeria, Syria, Lebanon came about to be. And that is where the genesis of the Palestine-Israel conflict started. Because what the British and the French did was to cut up the lands, the territories of the Ottoman Empire, and give it to whoever the pleases that did their bidding. That was exactly what's happening. So, going back to the issue of Nigeria, there are people that believe that there's the ideology of the core north. But I mean the core north, the Arewa Islamic nationalists, is that political Islam is a potent tool of homogenizing disparate ethnic nations. This is why they talk about caliphate, they talk about the Islamic caliphate, they talk about detribalization. But we still understand that within this power structure, the Fulanis are on top while the rest are down. In 2023, the current vice president of Nigeria was complaining that it was not the reason why a lot of people voted against him in the Northwest was because he was Kanuri and Atiku was Fulani. So they preferred a Fulani man than a Kanuri. He complained bitterly of tribalism. It's in the newspaper. People can read it. So you have to understand that even in the Islamic history, There have been many cases of ethnic war and ethnic conflicts. It's which has been going on for the past 1,400 years, and it's still going on in different places. So the pan-Islamism is a lie. The Balkanization and the fall of the Ottoman Empire, where Arab nationalism was used to destroy the Ottoman Empire, which was controlled by Turkish, is a good example that pan-Islamism cannot overcome pan-ethnicism. So genocide, the use of force to keep disparate ethnic nations in a united bloc. You need force. You need destruction. It needs to be destructive. You need to be able to kill as many people as possible, jail as many dissidents as possible, create demographic changes, you have to be able to displace people in order to create a united, homogeneous nation out of a diverse nation. You need chaos. That is why anybody talking about revolution in Nigeria, we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful of people who shout revolution, because it was a French nationalist, the French Catholic nationalists that organized the revolution of the 19th century. They did two things. They abolished the monarchy of the Charles dynasty, so they destroyed the monarchy of France. That was the first thing they did. And they destroyed the ethnic diversity of France. So before the 19th century revolution in France, France was very diverse, even though there was a huge bloc, which was a French-speaking majority. After that revolution, all the diverse, the Bretons, the Occident that speak different languages, especially in southern France, they were forced to give up their language in order to create that French Republic. So there are many people who see this as a way out, this bloody route, this bloody system as their own system of nation building. We have them in our midst. They will say, oh, let us adopt Hausa language as our national language. Let us adopt Pidgin language as our national language. We have them in our midst. We must not underestimate genocidal people in our midst. Showore, as one said, let us adopt Hausa language as a national language. So I'm not surprised when I see him going around and buying down across to different emirs in the north, because this is the kind of neoliberal genocidal maniac in our midst, and they always hide their illusion and delusion under two major ideologies: pan-neoliberalism and globalism and pan-Africanism. That's three: neoliberalism, globalism, and pan-Africanism. You're going to say, oh, we are all the same. We are all the same. But these are not founded. In Europe, we cannot afford to waste 200 years of our lives. We cannot afford to waste 200 years of our lives figuring out what Europe has figured out 100 years ago, after wasting 800 years of their life fighting and killing each other. So the Yoruba people and other ethnicities in Nigeria that understand what this ideology of ethno-linguistic federalism is all about, we need to organize ourselves and educate our youth. Because a lot of our youth, they do not have academic historical knowledge. They do not have geopolitical knowledge. They do not understand the history of Nigeria. They don't know that Nigeria is not working. And they believe that we need to change leadership. It is not. You look at Nigeria during the time of President Goodluck Jonathan, because a particular section of this country wanted power at all costs, they weaponized and politicized terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria. One of the reasons that they used to be able to push against Jonathan was insecurity. A Southern president. Was insecurity. What did they do again? What are they doing against Tinubu again? They are saying it is insecurity. Kidnapping left, right, and center. They are creating chaos everywhere. And it seems the government cannot even be able to stop this issue. So we even saw the son of Atiku saying that we need to stop the building of the roads. The coastal road should be stopped. And the money meant for the coastal road should become and be used to take care of insecurity in the core north. That is how they think. That is how they think. The South needs to suffer. Our life needs to be on hold because we need to take care of the North. So it is this quagmire that we find ourselves. And which is why we've always said that Nigeria is not a nation, it's a country of ethnic nations. Some of you actually wonder, why is it so easy for some sections of this country, despite the fact that millions of their people are walking across the streets, no food, nothing to show about it, unemployed, poverty is rife, and they still use millions and billions every year, every month to conduct mass wedding. They don't even enforce education. They promote, they've infused religion into the state, and they are pumping money into the religion, You know, I heard the governor of Sokoto said the number one priority of them is to priority of Sokoto state government is to take care of Islam. Then the second thing is to continue is insecurity. Now tell me, how are they going to when you have such a region and a block thinking in that way, that such a people are going to be in the 21st century? Look, I know many of you look at Dubai, Qatar, all these Gulf countries that are theocratic monarchies, authoritarian monarchies. What the only thing they have now? Qatar has merely 400,000 citizens. The citizens of Qatar are less than 1 million, and they have almost unlimited gas reserve. They have more than 1 trillion assets in the Western world. They have so much money that they don't know what to do with it. So the 80% of the population of Qatar are foreigners. So the citizens, so even in the UAE, Qatar, and many of these Gulf countries, oil-rich Gulf countries, they don't even have enough military, enough manpower to have their military. So many of them are now creating mercenaries, Colombian mercenaries to come and fight for them, Indian mercenaries all across the world. You go and look at many of their mercenary companies, security companies have their shops, their offices in Dubai, in Qatar, in Doha, in many of in Saudi Arabia, because they have the money, but they do not have the manpower. For instance, UAE, for instance, has a lot of Colombian mercenaries, thousands of Colombian mercenaries in its ranks, which is used as a fighting force. You look at UAE, for instance, when they wanted to go and invade Yemen, the UAE did not have money. What did they do? They don't have the manpower rather, but they had the money. They brought out the billions and imported RSF fighters. Now, I've spoken a lot about the RSF fighters from Sudan. The RSF fighters from Sudan these are reintegrated bandits, reintegrated terrorists who were used by the government of Sudan, who are also totalitarian Sharia apologists who wanted to Islamize and impose Sharia over the non-Arab population in the south, where the oil and gas of Sudan was located. So they brought in thousands and thousands of fighters. Many of them were nomads, artsmen, people with no education. The only skill they knew how to do was to kill and butcher people. Islamists. And that was the people that UAE funded, gave them money. pumped billions into the warlords, and they were able to use them to fight in Yemen against the Houthis. Against the Houthis. We must not forget the Houthis are Arabs, the UAE are Arabs. These bandits that are being used to go and fight that were enrolled in the RSF are also Arabs. So you need to understand the way the world works. It's a brutal and bloody world because of the interest for power and control and politics. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, we are in a country with people that are hell-bent on imposing their own worldview on the rest of us. And we have a naive and almost an illiterate population who do not understand what is at stake, who do not understand that we are almost on the verge of destruction. Under President Buhari, President Buhari was trying to weaponize the atrocities of his ethnic kinsmen in order to create a Fulani empire in Nigeria, is the bitter truth. When he was asking for all the states in the south to give up lands in order to settle the killer herdsmen, a lot of political jobbers and opportunists, social climbers, were going about, especially in the south, and saying, "Oh, we have to look at the bigger goal. If we go about, if we accept this policy, the economy is going to get better." We are talking about the dispossession of lands and settling people armed with AK-47 and giving them billions in allocations in strategic places across the south and creating colonies. It is basically destruction. You are creating outposts. This was what the Russians were doing in the USSR. This was what they did in Tajikistan. This was what they did in Kazakhstan. This was what they did in Nagorno-Karabakh, which was creating Russian outposts. This was how Russia was able to get access to the Black Sea. It was the started outpost before they started expanding. This is empire building. You create outposts. When the Europeans wanted to take over the indigenous lands in North America, in South America, they started with creating outposts. When the British, the Dutch wanted to start taking lands of indigenous people, of the Zulus, of the Bantus, of the Hottentots, the Bushmen in South Africa, they created Cape Town. It was outposts. They first created outposts. When the British wanted to take over the entire Nigeria and take over the entire all our lands and resources, they created a colony. It was a trading outpost. They always start with an outpost. So in Nigeria, Buhari had the guts to say, "Want to create a Fulani outpost all across Nigeria," and they still come around and tell you, "You must not talk because it is one Nigeria." That is not one. It is weaponized Nigeria, and we thank God for a lot of our elders that stood up, that damned the consequences and spoke loud and clear to be able to defeat these monsters. We would have been in trouble because they would have used genocide, because displacing people from their own land and other people occupying it is a form of genocide. It's a form of genocide. I also remember in the First Republic, one of the policies of Sir Ahmadu Bello was Arawanization stroke Hausanization of the northern region. To get a job in the northern region civil service, you need to Arawanize it. You need to Hausanize it, which was the Arawanization and Hausanization of the northern region. So many indigenous people gave up their language in order to be able to be reintegrated into the Arewa fold. The only people that refused were the people in Kogi, in Kokorende, Kogi, Kwara, and Benue states. Those are the three major non-Hausa speaking states that has been categorized in the north. And you see that there's a current reawakening by the Middle Belt nationalists that are fighting back because democracy gives them a voice. Under the military, they are crushed. They are not allowed to even have a voice to be able to say self-determine within the Nigerian Federation. Because anybody that says that the Middle Belt is not north, to them is against their one nation mantra. Don't forget, the mantra of the core north was one north, one monolithic north. How can you have one monolithic north if you don't have the intention of killing and wiping them out? Which is why the killings and the wiping out of indigenous people in the core north and displacement of millions of people into refugee camp is not a mistake. It is intentional. Which is why it is it's uncalled for Nigeria not to have, for the different ethnic nations for Nigeria to be running a centralized policing system where there are deep ethnic mistrust within this country. And we do not even want to talk about it. We just paper over the cracks. It was the killing of Ken Saro-Wiwa that made the Niger Delta people, the ethnic minorities in that area called South, to take up arms against the Nigerian government. Until date, we don't have a solution to date. The Niger Delta people, it was only 2 times that they took arms against the Nigerian states. In the First Republic and the Fourth Republic. In the First Republic, what did they do? In the First Republic, they took up arms against the Igbo-led Nigerian federal government and the Eastern region, which was under the leadership of Colonel Odumego Ojukwu, who later went to go and found and declare Biafra and trying to annex the resources of the ethnic minorities, where the Ijaw people stood up, led by Major Jasper Dekaporo, and said, why do you want to annihilate us and subjugate us? Why do you want to co-opt us? Why do you want to annex us into this country, into your phantom country? Why can't we, the ethnic minorities in the South that are rich in mineral resources and oil and gas, also have our own region, have our own states, have political power over our states? The Igbo intellectuals in the First Republic hated any form of ethnic identity or ethnic consciousness. Anybody that says, oh, I am Ijaw, I would like to maintain my space and land in Nigeria, in fact, you will see them calling this person all sort of names. That was the policy of the NCNC of Azikwe. That was what he was doing. When Chief Obafemi Awolowo created Egbe Omoduduwa, the great Chief Obafemi Awolowo created a socio-cultural Yoruba organization for the Yoruba people in order to make the Yoruba voice cohesive within the Nigerian Federation, because he saw the dangers. He saw that the Fulanis were trying to recreate the Sokoto Caliphate in the north, and he saw that the Igbos were trying to create an Igbo empire in the south and in Nigeria. Now, the Igbo State Union has been funded and by many Igbo intellectuals, where they were Igbo first and protecting Igbo interests. When the Yoruba organization was formed, Chief Azikwe was busy threatening on radio. He was threatening in the face of newspaper. There was no radio then. That Egbe Omoduduwa must be crushed. That he will not give up until Egbe Omoduduwa is totally annihilated and all its members destroyed. He didn't stop, and he achieved his ambition in 1966. That was one of the first things that his fellow Igbo man did in the person of Aguiyin Rossi, where he banned Egbe Omoduduwa. For what reason? Why should an Igbo man be dictating what the Yoruba people should do with our consciousness? It is still because of lack of boundaries. It is the disrespect that some ethnic nations have in Africa have towards each other, which is causing conflicts non-stop. Which is why I see a lot of Pan-Africanists as fraudsters. These are people that promote dictatorship And we must not, if you look at people, if you look at Islamists, radical Islamists, Al-Qaeda apologists, ISIS apologists, they are within us. We see them. We see them on Twitter spaces. We see them everywhere. What they believe in, you say they're always saying they are Pan-Africanists. They are always siding with neoliberals because the neoliberals are the biggest tools for Islamism all over the world. It was the neoliberals that destroyed the Shah of Iran. It was liberal students in universities. That's why we must not underestimate the damage liberal Yoruba youth in universities can cause. These people are ruthless. They will destroy and kill their parents because of this globalist, neoliberal identity, which is why the West, the conservative West, have not taken it upon themselves to go into campuses and crack down. When I mean crack down on radical leftists. Because they are the ones, that is where the leaders of tomorrow is being created. That is where that is why you need to be able to protect your future. Excuse me. That is why you need to protect your future. Because without that, we are going to lose our destiny. We are going to lose our future. So we need to understand where we are going. Now, let me talk about Turkey. Turkey and Russia. This should not take me 10 minutes because this is a very, very expansive topic. It's a very, very expansive topic that needs to be properly broken down. The weapon that has been deployed against indigenous people in Nigeria, it is not a gun to our head. It is not about constitution. It is ignorance. This generation is ignorant. It's ignorant. And there are people that are purposely weaponizing that ignorance for their own political aim. So it is normal for you to see a lot of people saying all sort of terrible things about TYF. It is normal for a lot of people to see saying terrible things about what we stand for. Because what we stand for is the total liberation. It is not for revolution, but the intellectual liberation of indigenous people in Nigeria from being annihilated. Because it is two ways. Those that want to use genocide as a tool of homogenizing the disparate diverse nations instead of practicing ethno-linguistic federalism that was suggested by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. They have their own, they will end up throwing this great nation into a state of chaos. Now, let me tell you what Turkey did. That was when I'm so happy that we've been able to shut down Mogalu from openly professing his genocidal fantasies against the rest of us within Nigeria. One of the examples, one of the role model that Kingsley Mogalu, a former presidential candidate within Nigeria, one of the things he said is this. He said that Nigeria should make examples. Look at the role, use the father Ataturk Kemal as a role model in Turkey. What did Ataturk Kemal do? Ataturk Kemal was responsible for the genocide of more than 2 million Armenians, millions of Greeks, and millions of Kurdish people in order to create modern Turkey. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire, many ethnic nations, which is why I understand what what Middle Belt is currently doing. I understand what they are doing. If the Middle Belt do not stand up and doing what they are doing now, they totally, socially, physically detach themselves from the core north, they will be annihilated in any post-Nigeria within Nigeria. It has happened before in Turkey. So any Middle Belt that is trying to play one north politics, you are going to be annihilated. That was what Turkey did. The ethnic Turks did to the Armenians. Armenians were driven out of their homes. Armenia Armenians, old Syriac Christians, Assyrian Christians, Kurdish people, the Greeks people. I'm talking about millions of people were massacred within 3-4 years. The genocide of the indigenous people, especially in certain places close to the Black Sea, area of Anatolia, in the eastern parts, and many places in Turkey, were, is underreported. So when the Ottoman Empire fell, and the Turkish nationalists realized that the days of empire is over, if they do not find a way to find a permanent solution to the indigenous minorities in their land, in that area that they've mapped out as the modern nation state of Turkey, Turkey would never be able to have the kind of power that they currently wield. Turkey wants to have access into the Persian world. Turkey wants to have access into the Arab world. Turkey wants to have big and total access into the Black Sea. And Turkey wants to be the most powerful bloc in the Mediterranean. And Turkey also wanted to control the total other half of Constantinople, because Constantinople is the only city in Asia and in Europe. It is the connecting block between Asia and Europe. So what did they do? Genocide was the policy, because after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, in that area of modern Turkey, the ethnic Turks were just less than 50% of the population. So how can they create a modern country when they are not the overwhelming majority? So they made policies. They killed as many people as possible, chased them away from their lands, and those that remained were forced to Turkinized. A good example were the Kurdish people. They made laws and policies that the Kurdish people they gave them a different names, that they removed the Kurdish identity from the constitution and called them mountain Turks. It is the same thing being done to the Yoruba people. In South, it is the same thing, policies-driven, ethnically driven, genocidal policies by powers that be within Nigeria against the Yoruba people in the core north. Go and look at what they've done in the north. There are 2 Yoruba in Kogi, for instance. There are 3 Yoruba blocks in Kogi. We are happy that the Okun Yorubas are doing a good job in making sure that the Oworo people are now under the Okun tribal classification under the Yoruba race. That is great. But they did something also profound. The Ogorimagongo are not regarded as Yorubas. They call them Ogorimagongo, even though Ogorimagongo is not different from Ikari Akoko, it's not different from Ekmimi Akoko, it's not different from Ishu Akoko, it's not different from all the Akokos, Oba Akoko. So it is not different. So instead of calling them Akoko, Ogori Akoko, or Magongo, or calling them Yoruba, because they are Yorubas, they now said Ogori Magongo is an ethnic group. So they taught many Ogori youths, but they are bearing Yoruba names. Their names is Adeyemi, their names is Alabi, their names, so they are confused. And they are telling them, so anytime Yoruba nationalism is being mentioned, they are quickly bullied. Oh, shut up. Stop talking about, this guy is like Nnamdi Kanu. Stop taking like IPOP. They demonize ethnic consciousness. But look at the people that are demonizing ethnic consciousness. Talk about any issue about Arewa supremacy and hegemony. They come out and start threatening with violence. That is how genociders, empire builders, that is how they think. That is how they think. They believe you don't have a right, they have a right over, they have a say. It is this audacity that they can determine life and death and how you should live and exist, because it is a supremacist thinking. They are not patriots, they are supremacists. They are people that want to undo what God has created, what nature has created. And there are examples. The good example is in Turkey. That's why you see them going to Turkey. Turkey, modern state of Turkey is a product of genocide. The modern state of Turkey is a product of genocide. It turned an empire into a nation state. It homogenized it. How did they homogenize it? Through the use of bloodshed. That was why we asked Magalu, you are saying that we should, Ataturk Kemal was a good case study. Now you are saying an example that Nigeria should follow. Do you intend to wipe us out? Magalu till today has not answered us. He ran away because he didn't expect there are intellectuals amongst the Yoruba race, people like us in the South and other people too in the Middle Belt that can see through what is propagating against the rest of us. This is an intellectual war. The first war, most of the wars are not fought on the battlefield. Most of the wars are fought intellectually, which is why you cannot destroy your intellectuals. The Yoruba intellectuals must find a way to organize themselves into a disciplined block, not being emotional, not being undisciplined. That's why you see the radicals, the religious extremists in our midst, they are always afraid of the Yoruba, of the intellectual Yoruba nationalists. They can't stand Yoruba nationalism because they know that is going to undo their wickedness and their grandiosity. You look at what they did in the Connaughts. They destroyed any form of Hausa nationalism and replaced it with Islamic nationalism. The energy that the Hausa people are using for Islamic nationalism should have been used for Hausa nationalism. Because in Islamic nationalism, the Hausa people are third class. In Hausa nationalism, has been destroyed. Because Hausa nationalism, you need intellectualism, you need money, you need connection, you need organization to be able to do all these things. But it cannot be done. Because within that space called Arewa land, there is another ethnicity that conquered that place under the banner of pan-Islamism, a minority that conquered it, destroyed the original traditional structure and created a new power structure that has been sustained by blood, by violence, by coercion, by deceit, by feudalism, and by pan-Islamism. So I have no problem. We have no problem. Till King Yoruba Force Organization has no business in talking about what happens to the Hausa people. We have no problem with what is happening in the Northwest. I have no business with that. Our business is this. One, the Yorubas of Kogi are Yorubas. They are not Northerners. They must be brought back to the Southwest. Two, the Yorubas of Kwara are not Northerners. They are Yorubas. They must be brought back to the Southwest. That's our own issue. And three, the Fulanis cannot be coming from Sokoto and Katsina and be killing our farmers, cannot be killing our mothers on their farms, and you're going to tell us not to talk because of pan-Nigerianism. We are going to talk. It's never going to be acceptable. We are going to revolt. We are going to organize. Because possible. The Yoruba people are not creating militias to be killing Hausa Obas, Hausa kings, Hausa Serikis. Let us reverse the case and think maybe we are going to have a Nigeria within a week. Close your eyes and imagine. Yoruba people are creating OPC. We are creating different Yoruba groups. And saying because Yoruba people are good in drummers, our business is Amanlu, our Yoruba Tonu Lukiri. Our Losin North, our Lokasina. We are now kidnapping and raping their wives and children. And you are saying that when people are now saying we are calling out Fulani ethnic bandits as terrorist people, you are saying, oh, don't generalize against us, but you refuse to call out, you are hiding under religion in order to protect your killer brothers and sisters. And you are even saying, oh, we know they are killing you. For you, it is a clash. How can it be a clash? Our fathers have been farming on this land for thousands of years. You are the one coming from Mali, from Senegal to come and kill us. The next thing is you are even planning to use genocide as a form of nation building. No, this is not a nation, it's a country of nations. When you say Nigeria is a country of nations, you destroy all their genocidal plans. They do not have any. That's why, look, I'm not here to speak for the Igbo nation. I'm sorry, I'm not here to speak for them. But the greatest disservice the Igbo nation has ever done to themselves is to pursue the dream of Nnamdi Azikiwe in the 21st century. When the South is awash with cash and armed to the teeth to defend that space. And they understand you have an agenda to get access to the Atlantic Ocean. You cannot use the Azikwe's method and think you are going to get away. You cannot get away with it. It can only work for a period of time. You are surely going to be the biggest losers. Now, the issue of Russia. And the issue of Russia, I'm going to talk about that within 2-3 minutes. And I'm going to, we're going to have a question and answer. A good example of the Russian issue was Eastern Ukraine. The Holodomor. The Holodomor was a farming policy, the weaponization of starvation against the peasant population of Eastern Ukraine. So the majority of the people of Donetsk and Luhansk, that area of Donbass region, were majorly Ukrainians in the early 19th century. After the Bolshevik Revolution, and Stalin was able, through hook and crook, was able to replace Lenin, because it was Trotsky that was supposed to take over from Stalin. Was Trotsky that was supposed to take over from Lenin, not Stalin. Stalin was a genocidal maniac. He was not intelligent. He was not an ideologue. But he was brutal. He knows how to use guns and ammunition for his. He was an idealist. So what happened? Starvation was used to crush Ukrainian resistance in eastern Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians died. Many of them were displaced, and they had to move. They had to move to the western part of Ukraine. Now, Ukraine was part of Russia, of the Russian Empire, because USSR was a continuation of the Russian Empire. And what happened? They now relocated a lot. They relocated a lot of ethnic Russians from other parts of Russia into that area of Ukraine. That is where you see this problem happening today. The problem of Ukraine, where there are a lot of people within Ukraine as a country, in places that people know they are Ukrainian lands, and you're asking a question, is this actually Ukraine or Russia, was because of some of the genocidal policies of Stalin, where a lot of Ukrainian people were massacred and annihilated. So a good example was Holodomor, Holodomor. Holodomor. The Holodomor was a starvation policy by Stalin, which led to the massacre of millions of ethnic Ukrainians. And when the people were removed, ethnic Russians came into that place. So that was why you saw that, and that place, unfortunately, it is one of the places, the mineral resource-rich region of Russia, of Ukraine. That eastern Ukraine is where they have most of their industries, their power plants, great rivers are flowing through that place for agriculture. Many of the things that Ukraine needs to build a modern nation state within Europe is found in eastern Ukraine. But because of the policy, the genocidal policy that happened many years, that happened during the time of Stalin, they lost that place. They lost that place. And that is why it was difficult, even though Ukraine was now trying to undo through bloody wars of trying to reclaim that place. It was too late for them to do it. And one of the policies the USSR also did was Russification and the destruction of indigenous languages. So in Russia, in USSR, Everybody was speaking Russian. Everybody was Russified. Latin dialect, Latin and any form of Persian dialect, Turkic writing system was now replaced with the Cyrillic writing system. What is the Cyrillic writing system? The Cyrillic writing system was the writing system of the that is mostly used by Russia. So it is part of the Russification agenda. That's why I'm sorry to say this. I'm sorry I'm speaking this way. If something happens in Nigeria now, and Nigeria balkanizes, places like Plateau, Taraba, Nasarawa are going to have identity crisis. Because many of them are speaking Hausas, even though they are not Hausas. Because that's one of the issues you have that happened in the USSR. That's why you see places like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, even Finland. So one of the things they did in those places was de-Russification. They also have the same case in Georgia. Those were former USSR states. Same thing in Azerbaijan, where they were now de-Russification. They are making laws to make their indigenous language the national language, not Russian language anymore. That's why you see that a lot of countries in the Balkans, a lot of countries, especially in Eastern Europe and the Caucasus, they are afraid of Russia because they understand what Russia did to them. The policies of Russia, scorched earth tactics, which is the extermination of the indigenous people. Now, how did Russia now? Let's talk about the modern state of Russia, which is now 70% ethnic Russians. There used to be a powerful Muslim nation, which was called Circassians. Circassia. Circassia was a Muslim state, a Muslim country, that existed in that area of the Caucasus, close to the Black Sea, close to modern-day Ottoman Empire, and modern-day Turkey. It existed for hundreds of years, for centuries. Wonderful warriors. But because Circassia was standing geopolitically as an obstacle for the Russian Empire, for their expansion into Central Asia and having direct access, total access in that corridor in the Black Sea, the Russians had to exterminate the Circassians. They fought the Circassians for 105 years, close to over 100 years. Circassia was taken over. Their language exterminated. Their land taken over. So you see there are so many minorities in Russia today, but you cannot see them. There are Mongolians in Russia. There are Turkish ethnicities in Russia. There are Cossacks in Russia. There are Persians ethnicity in Russia. There are many ethnicities in Russia, but because of use of policies, you have to subjugate the ethnic identities of other ethnicities and propagate a major ethnicity as the major force. So you have to understand what is going on. It is genocide as a tool of nation building. That is why the killings in the Middle Belt, it is not a mistake. Anybody that tells you the killings in the Middle Belt is just a national or political issue, no, it is a systematic annihilation of the people of the Middle Belt. When we are talking and siding the people of the Middle Belt, we are empowering them so that they can continue to fight, because we don't want to have borders with these genocidal maniacs coming from the Sahel. It is the bitter truth. Go to Okiode, Babala, go to Kwara State, in Kwara South, go and talk about what is happening, go and look at what is happening to the Yoruba people. You are going to understand more what the people of the Middle Belt have been facing. They are displacing people, taking over. The use of terror When the use of terror is also a means of warfare. The use of terror is a means of warfare. In order to destroy the ethnic diversity of Nigeria, the destruction of the ethnic diversity. That's why there's nothing called one North. As a Yoruba man, there's absolutely anything called one North. Because by saying, when you agree to them to say Northern Nigeria, you are giving up 10 million of your 10 million and more than 20,000 square kilometers of ancestral Yoruba land that were based on the Oyo Empire. You are giving it up to the core North. That place was not conquered. That is not unconquered territory. Those are just problem of political state creation within Nigeria. I told you there are two types of Nigerians. There are empire building Nigerians and nation building Nigerians. Those that believe that they want to destroy this country by imposing Sharia over the rest of Nigeria, those are empire builders. They tried the same nonsense in Sudan. They found out they destroyed that country. Sudan has been totally wrecked for the next 200 years. No solution in sight. And many of you, when we talk about 1,000 years ago, 300 years ago, you think it's far. It is not far. 5,000 years ago is just 200 generations away. Ago. Your father, your great-grandfather, just 5,000 years ago was just 200 generations ago. 5,000 years ago, just 200 generations. So now imagine, so that means when we talk about Oduduwa is just maybe 14 generations ago. Oromia was just 10 generations, was just great-grandfather away. So that you understand why legacies, what we do now, affects what we get in the future. May Olodumare continue to be with the rest of us, the rest of the entire Yoruba race. The entire Yoruba race. Olodumare continue to be with people that are working day and night for the survival of the Yoruba people. We also want to pray for the people that have been displaced due to the violence, this terrorism that is happening across the Sahel, across Nigeria, that are displacing people across the world. We hope that peace will come back to our land. We pray that peace is going to come into our territories. I'm going to stop here. Maybe later, I'm going to go into more topics where more examples of the use of genocide as a tool of nation building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hare, for that very in-depth lecture. And we've established now that Nigeria is not a homogeneous country, is a heterogeneous country. And we need to restructure Nigeria so that we do not have to face any situation of either genocide or ethnocide. So we're going to go into Q&A now. And I'm going to ask, I'm going to get Mr. Jolomi to join us and also ask him to see if we have anyone on stage to speak to us. Mr. Jolomi, are you there? Hello? Mr. Jolomi? All right, while we wait for him. So, all right, you've said a lot. Can you please look up? All right, you're still on camera. You've said a lot tonight, and just a moment, Mr. Jolomi is not here. You said a lot tonight regarding the situation in Nigeria and how it's contrasted to the situation in Turkey, for instance. So I want you to enlighten us regarding how we're going to go about prompting our leaders to get our people in Kogi, Kwara, and also the ones in the Eastern Axis, Edo and Delta back. How do we go about this? How do we plead with them? How do we work towards it politically to get them back into Southwest or Western region? We can't hear you, sir. We can't hear you since you're muted.
Thank you very much. I think what we need to do is very, very straightforward. And we don't have to mince words. What we need to do is to negotiate, add political pressure, and actually talk to our political elites. The issue is that there is a disconnect, a slight disconnection. It's getting better. Our political elites are currently listening, and to us, that they need to protect the interest of the Yoruba people within the Nigerian Federation. I'm going to give a good instance. During the issue of VAT, earlier this year, the issue of the VAT, the Arewa leaders came out and said, this VAT do not favor us. It is anti-North. They don't even care. They don't even care about justice, equity, that the Northwest and the Northeast majorly has been looting the rest of the resources of Nigeria for their own survival. They didn't even care about that. They also said it's anti-North. We don't care. Maybe you guys are crying. You are generating $2 billion every year, $2 billion every year, and you are only keeping $100 million. We'll continue to leech on you. They came out to say that unashamedly. So the Yoruba P leaders need to start operating at that level. We are not saying that, this policy is not good. The Yoruba leaders need to say, this policy is not good. It might be good for the North, but it is not good for the Yoruba people. And because it is not good for the Yoruba people are not going to sacrifice our soul for your survival in the name of national unity. That is how we should always think. But for the past many decades, especially during the military rule, we've had self-centered social climbers who believe sacrificing our people for their own, in order for them to become billionaires, and hiding under the banner of patriotism. It's a form of it's a form of playing the game of one Nigeria. So going forward, the different interest organizations, interest groups, political organizations, nationalist organizations must be able to actually conceptualize what exactly do we want in Nigeria. I remember when we were talking about state creations, and some of us are talking about creation, and some people that actually have no simple idea about the history of Nigeria, where we are coming from, where we are going. They don't even understand the history of West Africa, screaming and shouting, "Oh, we don't want it! Oh, we don't want states! Oh, we don't want regional system of government." I was like, what exactly is going on? The Yoruba people are not mobs. If we really want to go back to the time of Awolowo, we must go back to it in full terms, where the intellectuals are the ones speaking for us, not mobsters, not opportunists, not people who believe we are here to do fashion parade. No. So what do we want? We want ethno-linguistic federalism. We don't care. Give us one more state, or give for the Yoruba people in that north, and bring our people back home. We will negotiate any kind of negotiation you want. Now, what's our negotiating power? We are stakeholders in this country. We are a majority. We are powerful. It is doable. The Yoruba people in Delta State, Yoruba people of Edo State, Yoruba people of Kwara State, just realign the borders. We are not seceding. We just believe that within the Nigerian equation, their interest is well protected. They are well protected and aligned within the entire Yoruba Commonwealth. We are not anti-North, we are not anti-East, we are not anti-South-South. Because this is not empire, we are all brothers and sisters within Nigeria. But people that have empire mindsets are the ones that are making Nigeria almost impossible. They believe people that have empire mindsets, they are the ones that are quick to shout patriotism the most, because they are big time manipulators. They are propagandists. Everything to them is politics. And I'm trying to make people understand the psychology of the kind of people we are dealing with. They will always prop up sentiments in order to avoid social responsibilities. And what is the social responsibilities? The social responsibilities that you don't have to oppress other ethnicities for you to feel good. So if the Shekiris are saying, no, we are Yorubas, we need to go back to the West. What is the business of Ijos or Yorubos to be saying, oh, one Delta? There was something called Delta States 40 years ago, for God's sake. What we had was Bendel States. If we see the Yoruba people of Use, Ologbo, Akoko Edo, the Yoruba settlements there, and say, okay, we are going back to the West. Just do border readjustments. You cannot be from Benin and be shouting, no, they must be there. They must be there. There was nothing called Edo State 40 years ago. It was one you only had was Bendel States. When people what led to the collapse of the First Republic was the overbearing, genocidal, and hegemonic attitude of the Igbos and the Fulanis. The Fulanis were busy pressing down the ethnic minorities in the core north, that they are never going to have political freedom. The Igbos were doing the same thing, pressing down the people of Southern Cameroon, pressing down the people of the South, current day former minorities in the Eastern region. And what happened? And that's why I've said it before. If 1966 happens again, 1967 happens again, the Yoruba people are never going to play the same role we played in 1967. Never. Because we are always the reasonable people being on top of our voices. We saw what General the current president, the current Minister of Defense, General Musa, said. The Southwest is the most secure place in Nigeria currently. The most progressive. Why? Because they have reasonable and proactive leaders. So if we are trying to create sanity in an insane society, that we find ourselves in a chaotic society like Nigeria. So you're not going to create wars, destabilize Nigeria, and you expect our boys and men to go and be sacrificing their lives like they did in 1967. No. Which is why we are calling now for the ethno-linguistic restructuring of Nigeria. And our leaders must hear, they have to understand. If the millions of the Yoruba people, indigenous Yoruba people in Kogi are displaced, the millions of Yoruba people in Kwara, I'm talking about millions, over close to 10 million, are displaced. Where are they coming to? They are coming into Oyo State, they are coming into Ondo State, they are coming into Edo State, into Ondo, Oyo and Osun. Or are we going to, if God forbid, they start displacing close to 1.5 million Ishekiris in Delta States, in Warri? So if they come to Ondo State, we are going to chase them out. No, they are our brothers. So in order to stop this to stop this chaos, because we are not safe. The mistake many of us are making, many of our political leaders are making, and many of us too, especially the Yoruba middle class, is to think the problem in the Sahel will stay in the Sahel. The problem in the Sahel is not going to stay in the Sahel. The soup they are cooking in the Sahel, the soup that is being cooked in the Northwest, the terrorism that is being cooked in the Northeast is going to get to everybody. We're already feeling it. Everybody will eat the breakfast. So the displacement of the Yoruba people of Kwara State, the next thing that will be on their mindset is Ogbomoso. Where are they running to? Ogbomoso, Ibadan, Lagos. You can't stop them. They are the same people. We are the same people with them. If anything happens to the Yorubas of Benin Republic, where do you think they are going to come to as refugees? They are coming to us. Or you think you're going to chase them away? You are deceiving yourself. When the issue of Northeast started, many of the Kanuris, when they were displaced from their land, where did they go to? They went to Cameroon. They went to Chad, because that is where their brothers are. So to avoid a big demographic cataclysm, we must stabilize Kwara and Yorubas of Kwara and Kogi and Edo and Delta. How do we stabilize it? By making sure they have the right political framework where they can be able to recreate what we have in the Southwest in their place under any kind of arrangements. We are not even saying that the Yorubas of Kogi must join the Southwest at all costs. No. They can create an homogeneous Yoruba state of Kwara and Kogi for Yorubas alone in that place, as they are still going to be in the Northwest, in the Middle Belt. But we know that they have a form of sanity in that place. So I think I've been able to answer your question, man.
Thank you very much, Harry. There's another thing I quickly want to bring up. There was some message going around. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I think TYF did repost it or posted it earlier today regarding the situation whereby we're being alert that there are bandits who are planning to invade educational institution as well as homes to take people, because they are trying to use people as shield for when they are being bombarded in the forest. So I know I've been saying a lot here about us being vigilant and us also having community vigilantes and everything. But what can be done now? I know our leaders already are working towards a security architecture. What can be done with all this information out there? Because this is the period where people are out a lot. People are out there, it's the festive period. So what can be done?
We can only talk here. We've talked and talked and talked, but we know what to do. We need state police. We need state police. The people in Abuja cannot police the Yoruba people in Ibadan, in Ifelodo, in Kwara. We need state police. It is not the fault of our people to try to enjoy Christmas or try to travel to go and see their loved ones. It is the fault of the people we paid taxes to and gave our vote to protect our lives. So, and Chief Obafemi Awolowo has spoken for over 70 years till he died, said this centralized policing system is going to create bloodshed. It's not going to protect the lives of Nigerians. But politicians refuse to listen. So the blood of everybody, whether Yoruba, Hausa, Ijaw, Yoruba, that have been killed by these terrorists, is in the neck of our political elites. Because what I mean political elites across all ethnicities. The Yoruba political leaders have tried. They created Amotekun, but we need to do more. So that's why it will be, we are going to be making the biggest mistake the core North made under Buhari was to keep quiet and believe that by keeping quiet, he was going to get away with a lot of Fulani expansionist policies he was trying to do while masking it under one Nigeria. But it failed. Like the Ruga and Katu colony is the bitter truth. It failed. And they are regretting. People like Malami and not many of their oligarchs were amassing wealth at the expense of the common. They had 8 years wasted. They were busy thinking, they were building empires, building railways into Niger Republic, trying to pipe gas from the south to go to Morocco. You know, they want to become the Qatar. You know, those kind of fantasy, cheap money. You know, that is, you know, I'm sorry to say this. The Arab mindset, the Gulf mindset, where money was made not through manufacturing, not through taxation, not through major productivity, but just exporting of gas, is what many of the Northwest, Northeast political elites also want. It's what they wanted. It's what they want. And we all know how it ended. That's why you see them all the time, oil and gas, oil and gas, oil and gas. But things like creating industries, communities, generating tax, VAT, foreign direct investment, they're not interested in that. That is why you see them that they are busy empowering religious extremists that are teaching that they should burn down industries, burn down, destroy breweries, all sorts of nonsense. Because there's free money coming in. And the money coming in is not enough to be able to cater for their lifestyle anymore. So we just need, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. When we have state police, we have state police, then we can be talking about how the 6 Southwest states will protect the Yoruba people in Kwara, in Kogi, in Edo, in Delta. That's the only thing we can do. Thank you very much.
All right, Darek, we have a question from Facebook. I'm going to show it on the screen now so you can see. There is the question from Facebook. So the question is, what is your take if we agitate for Igomina state from Kwara state? And can Nigerian government redirect Yoruba speaking people to the Southwest?
Yeah, anything is possible. I totally agree with Igomina state. Anything my fellow Yorubas are supporting, I am not going to say, I'm not supporting it. No. I support Igomina state. I support the Shekiri Wari state agitation. I support Okun state agitation. So we've presented many of our points to our political leaders, privately and publicly, as regards to what we want. And part of the things on the agenda is bringing back the Igomina people back to the West. Because we have some Igomina in Osun State, we have another Igomina in the South, in Kwara. For instance, Bisi Akonde, Baba Bisi Akonde, the former governor of Osun State, under the Alliance for Democracy, 1999 to 2003, was an Igomina man. So there's University of Medicine in Igomina, in Kwara, in Igomina part of Osun State, while there's no single major federal presence in the Igomina part of Kwara, which was the biggest. So it is not. So I also support that the Igomina people should not be broken into pieces. But this is what Nigeria does. That's why I say it is genocide. It is genocide. It is some people are using empire building strategies, and every time they are called out, they are quick to say they are doing it because of patriotism. But that's not true. Thank you. That was a wonderful question. Eshebubo.
Right. Thank you very much, Are. I'm going to try to get Mr. Delomi back on here so we can see if we have anyone on space right now. Mr. Delomi, are you
Ye-
there?
Yes, there's no one on space right now, but I do have two questions. But before I do ask, if anybody on space asks questions, please, you can request the mic and we'll bring you up and you can ask your questions. But I do have two questions. And it goes this. What practical step can be taken to move the conversation from from the theoretical and political to a concrete roadmap for change? Who should lead the charge? The government, the legislature, or a sovereign national conference?
It is all of the above. And having conversations like this is extremely critical. This is what we call politics. This is how politics is done. This is how you engage. This is how we organize. And this is what we need to do. So we need to educate a critical mass of our people. We need to organize a lot of our people. Now, you can't compare the level of ignorance amongst the Ishekiris about their Yoruba heritage, about the Hussein, about the Yoruba heritage, about the Kogi people, about their Yoruba heritage, about the Akoko Edos, about their Yoruba heritage, about the Yoruba people of Ilorin, about their Yoruba heritage. 3-4 years ago compared to now. No. So it has become higher. They've become bolder. They understand. Now we are getting, the conversation is being had. The conversation is being had in different places across different authors, both in private and public spaces, in national TVs. And now we are talking about amendments. State police is happening by inshallah, by the special grace of God. So those are the kind of things that we need to have. And we need to be organized. Because there's a difference between having issues, or we have issues as regards to what we need, and we are using the wrong techniques to get it done. So we are having the conversations. And this is extremely critical. Because no matter how much you try, you cannot lead people, you cannot liberate a people that do not know they are in bondage. People are saying that the attack, that they are being censored from being Yoruba again. When was the last time you heard Yoruba hate, insulting Yoruba women, cursing Yoruba people on social media? That doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. We've been able to undo damage of 60 years, where there was the hate against the Yoruba race was official. So we saw for the first time, we saw people like, we saw Governor Sanwo-Olu saying that Lagos State is the United States of the Yoruba people. 6 years ago, he won't say that. He won't say that. You'll be hearing this, you'll be hearing blasphemous phrases like melting pot. But nobody says that anymore, because the most critical part, we now understand, we are now alive to our responsibilities. You've seen the different threats from the corners. Oh, we'll take back power in 2027. We are standing up and telling them, power, you are not bigger than us within the Nigerian projects. You are not. So we are equal.
There is another point I'm going to highlight now on the screen, and I want you to engage and respond to this, please. So this is from YouTube, and it says that our problem is mainly enlightening the Nigerian educated class about the importance of major ethnic nationalities.
It's very, very correct. And I'm going to say something funny today. Now you see what we're doing in TYF. We are not coming to Yoruba nationalism with Agbada, and also you see us the way we're dressed. You know, you see me in suits, you see us dressed, you know, We are speaking English, the language of commerce, the language of geopolitics in the world. You see us, the way we are engaging, you're trying to, because this is the way you have to appeal to the middle class. The middle class is the key. And I can tell you, there is a gradual social engineering that is happening within the Yoruba middle class. The erosion of the Yoruba consciousness, of the importance of ethno-linguistic federalism, not just amongst the Yoruba people, amongst different ethnicities, did not start 2023 or 2025 or 2015. It was a social engineering destructive process of 30, 40 years. So our plan was that where we are currently at, we even believe it's going to take us 10 years to reach. We didn't believe it's going to be this fast. So we thank Almighty God for achieving this. So we can do more. And we are surely going to do more. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful, that's exactly so that's why you see me in suits. You see the moderators looking kinky. That's how you have to appeal to the middle. That's how the middle class, that is the voice of the middle class. Okay, for instance, when the Japanese wanted to move from a nation building ethnicity to an empire building ethnicity, they start putting on kimono. They started putting on suits, but they still put on suits. You still know that these people are Japanese to the core in heritage and culture. It was after China finally came up. If you can look at Chairman Mao, you look at Xi Jinping. China also stood on and okay, this is the way the world works. They also, you start seeing from the 1990s, Chinese officials started putting on suits. It has to be balanced. So, because you need to capture your middle class, the middle class must be able to sync with you. Because middle class loan the ruling class. Many of you today listening to my lectures are going to be the ruling class in the next 10, 20 years. But if I do with me, okay.
We have another question, all right. So this is from YouTube, from Your Might. Said Professor Yemi Oshibajo championed the Ruga and cattle colony plan to carve land for the Fulanis in the last dispensation. Was he doing it out of ignorance or as a captured Fulanist? Okay, that's a very bad.
Thank you very much. He was doing it out of ignorance.
That's very
like I said,
language.
There is a disconnect. There is a disconnect between the Yoruba elites. There was a disconnect between the Yoruba elites and the Yoruba people. Total disconnect. And the mistake we made was that we assumed that our political elite knew what we wanted and they would go and do it. We've forgotten that many of them live in a bubble. Many of them, when they want to travel from Lagos to Abuja, many of them have never traveled through bus in Nigeria for the past 20, 30 years. They take private jets. Even if they want to travel from Lagos to their village in Ikene, they use helicopter. They land there. Where they live is 24-hour electricity. They are off-grid. They want to go back to Lagos and they want to travel to Europe. They take their helicopter. Helicopter takes them directly to private terminals at the MMA, Lagos International Airport. That is where they stay. They land and go anywhere they have ones in the world. They have diplomatic passports. They have Caribbean passports. Many of them have green cards. They have multiple permanent residence cards. They have Schengen. They have American one. They have Caribbean one. And many of them have diplomatic passports, because there are some powerful political elites. When you reach that level, they can travel. They can travel anywhere. So it's ignorance. It's ignorance, and it is not their fault. It happens in any when the society becomes too elitist. So it is now our duty to remind the political class that voxi populi voxi Dei, the voice of the people, the voice of God. The Yoruba people have not been feudalized for the past 500 years, and we will never be feudalized in Nigeria. Because this is what Awolowo died for, went to prison for. My people will not be feudalized. That was why the political elites, the aristocrats coming from Lagos colony, and many of them in the hinterlands, the children of the Obas, hated Awolowo. And they were even saying he was just a son of a firewood seller. Who is he? That was why when Awolowo made education very, very compulsory, they hated him for it. So we know where we are coming from, we know where we are going, which is why it is extremely critical for us to engage our political elite in a civilized and organized manner and tell them, we are not here, we are not fighting against you. The reason why people, if Awolowo reincarnates today, people will follow him massively to death. So why can't you become another Awolowo? Why do you think you have to buy kuli and gari before people can vote for you? Why can't you study what Awolowo did and also become another Awolowo? Just give us the basic minimum. Defend your people. Speak for your people. What do your people want? Your people cannot be fighting against Ruga or organizing where tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are attending rallies against Katu Colony and Ruga. And you're going to be in Aso Rock and you're going to be supporting it. That means something is wrong. Shetima did not do that. He supported the northern governors to say they don't want restructuring, they don't want VAT, they want VAT to remain the same. Those are people that are doing the bidding of their people. So Awolama loyalty, àwọn rulers wa, their political elite to listen to us. Because it is a game of democracy. They must listen. Voxi populi, voxi Dei, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Imagine kí one state governor wá jáde nílẹ̀ Yorùbá sí òun ò fẹ́ state police tábà nílẹ̀ ní pure water. It's the bitter truth. Everybody must say something fún tí mo sọ yẹn. It's the bitter truth. Because in tí a fẹ́ nìyẹn, in tí wàá dẹ̀ lọ ṣe nìyẹn. Because we are not going to sacrifice our own survival. Torí pé Yorùbá ń survive ló fi lọ represent wa. Do you want to rule over dead people? You want to rule over a dead people? There are a lot of things tí Ọ̀ṣínbàjò ṣe that I was highly disappointed to with. Because he was out of touch with the people. He was an elitist to the core. I'm saying it on here. He was an elitist we thought was an Awoist. With Awolowo support church madness, what they feel Awolowo kò sí ọpọlọ Awolowo lórí wọn. It's the bitter truth.
All right, please be mindful of your words. Everyone sending questions.
What they feel Awolowo kò sí ọpọlọ Awolowo lórí wọn.
All right.
So we have to understand.
We have a new. Yeah, everyone sending in question, please be careful with your wording. We need to ask question in a very polite and straightforward manner. I have another comment I want to highlight from Babai Dauto. So this is one for you, RA. Their major agenda is for South to suffer as well to babysit the North.
Interchange ní láti 1914. Kọ́lọ́mbà ní ogun tá a ti wọ̀ yìí. Ṣáà pé àwọn bàbá wọn máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ kan, wọn máa ń gbàdúrà kan ní mọ́tò kan náà nìbàdàn. Ọlọ́run jábọ́ lórí burúkú wọn mọ́tò papọ̀. Ẹ kàn ní má sọ̀rọ̀ ní ẹ jẹ́ kí n sọ. Sódà ọ̀rọ̀ yá yáwọn èèyàn wa. Ṣé mọ̀? Ó dàbẹ́ níbi pé kẹ́ wọnú mọ́tò. Ṣé Ọlọ́run jẹ́ ká bá wèrè wọ mọ́tò papọ̀? Kí mọ́tò ti máa lọ. Kí wèrè yẹn dẹ̀ yọ àdá. Ṣé àwọn tó fẹ́ ẹlòmíà fẹ́ pálẹ̀ lórí speed. That's exactly what we currently have. And we have to, that's why things are not just, if, I'm sorry, Oyibo only allow the carnage going on in Nigeria to continue. Let's say there's a region, you have white people, Caucasians, they will never allow it. They will never allow it. They would have found a way to solve the Nigerian problem.
All right, we have more questions coming in. I just want to say earlier, that question was, the end of it was an oversight. I didn't say the end, that was a bit strong, like a strong word there. Yes, we need to talk to our elders. I agree. We need to speak out. We need to tell them the fact. We need to be straightforward with them. But we also have to do it in a way that is, that has Omoluabi ethos. That is, it's kind but truthful. So that is the reason why I'm saying we have to watch our wordings. I'm going to now show you the next question, and this is also from YouTube. And the person asking this question wrote, "What is your take on the proposed indigenousship bill being proposed at the National Assembly? I heard it has been sneaked back in to be deliberated upon."
Okay, this is what is going to happen. When they vote at the National Assembly, they will now send many of these bill to all the states in the federation. So our sure states, sure me see sure Lagos state ni o, Ọ̀yọ́ state ni o, Ogun state ni o. National Assembly to ma vote nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, they will need 2/3. So our target is we only get it 2/3 on the indigenous bill. Torí ẹni mi ò tiẹ̀ sometimes ariwo ran kíní. Mo mọ̀ pé Plateau ò ní support ẹ̀, Taraba ò ní support ẹ̀, Adamawa ò ní support ẹ̀, Kogi ò ní support ẹ̀. Ní South. So we have ní South we have 16 states. Me ò trust the Southeast. I'm saying it on here. So can't say ní South 14 states only support in South. So if 14 states is not supporting it in South, so it cannot pass. So they need 36 states. They need 2/3. So 14 minus 36, that's how much. So you've been able to stop it. So there are some things we just need to mobilize, go to our states. You can support anything. No, Ijaw people are not going to support it. They want to enjoy their oil alone in Bayelsa. Shall you understand? So I think she wanted a question here, Madam Kweju.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Mr. Jalomi wants to ask a question before we move on to the next question on the screen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insight and all, and the knowledge you have passed tonight. But I have this question. Looking forward 20 years, what is your most optimistic scenario for Nigeria if we embrace true federalism? And what is your most pessimistic scenario if we continue on this current path?
On this current path, we are going to become Somalia. Somalia is currently, there are 3 governments in Somalia. There are 3 governments in Somalia. We have Somaliland, Puntland, and the Mogadishu-controlled Somalia. And that has been the way it has been for the past 30 years. Everybody is saying Southwest is the most safest, Southwest is the only one functioning. Unfortunately, if we go this way, Southwest nìkan, in fact, wọ́n lè relocate the capital sí Èkó padà. God forbid. It's the bitter truth. That's why you see that there's some ethnicities in Nigeria. They don't care about who becomes their governor anymore. They will sit down, open Twitter space, and be discussing Ogun State politics, Osun State politics, Lagos State politics. They will even kí ló kan Uche pẹ̀lú ta ló di councillor nìbàdàn kí ló lè mind the business yẹ pẹ̀lú ní Abia. You are going to see somebody that almost half of his people are in IDP camp from one state in the middle belt that is so concerned about who is going to become the governor of Ondo State. And he's asking a question, what's your business? You don't even live here. Because Plan B, Southwest need Plan B, many Nigerians. Plan B ni. Some of the team are budget because they're almost giving up. They will jump ship and run down. And they will not become a terror. Because that's what I've seen. I'm sorry, I'm not. You see Somalians that cannot even dare criticize Al-Shabaab in Somalia. And they get to Minnesota in America, and they all of a sudden they start becoming human rights activists and start talking arrogantly. Now tell me Al-Shabaab back down Mumbai. One long sleeve. One America, they are raising shoulder. That's what happens. Because nobody is going to respect you if your homeland is in a state, is in a state of nature. The Jews learned this lesson for more than 1,500 years. But they can control the banks. They can control the wealth of the nation. Without a Jewish homeland, they are nothing. They can be destroyed. Today, we still remember home. Because until we fix Yoruba land, nobody, I'm sorry to say this, we are almost worthless in the diaspora. We have no power.
All right, Harry. So we'll go to the next question.
He asked me the other question. If we restructure Nigeria, Nigeria will finally, ethno-linguistic federalism, fiscal federalism, Nigeria will finally start fulfilling its potentials. It's it, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Harry. So the next question is from Maye3244 on Facebook. No, sorry, on YouTube. And the question is, how can we help our middle or educated class and their children to see their personal goals in preservation of Yoruba land, e.g., the mongrelization of Lagos identity, among others?
Mongrelization. Let me try and look. I'm hearing that English for.
I think it's something to do with pets. I don't know.
Oh, I get it. It's a very strong word.
Yes.
It's a very strong. Well, we have to just. I'm going to be very diplomatic with answering that question. But that was a very powerful question. God bless you, sir. I don't even know these people. Thank you so much. I'm enjoying the questions tonight. We have to just educate our people. Yoruba people need to trade amongst each other. Yoruba people need to marry each other. Yoruba people need to engage each other, So we have to just make sure that our community is powerful and well protected. So that is what is going to help us. Whether in Lagos, whether in Benin Republic, the issue of Lagos, it was a collapse of the Yoruba Agbole society. So, and I believe that we are going to. I saw the Lagos State Governor dressing in your attire today. Those are symbolism. That's how. So when the leaders is doing that, the middle class, the aristocrats will also follow suit. Because it is very easy to create a change when you capture leadership than doing it from the base. So it is an indirect message. We are back. This is Yoruba land. We are leading by example. Shotiye. So, but thank you so much. Question. I think I've been able to answer that question. Let's move ahead.
All right, this question is very controversial and it's from Babai Dauto. So good luck, Are, with this one. I'm going to show it on the screen now. Is asking you, what's your opinion about Yoruba exiting Nigeria?
No comment.
All right. So
no comment.
Someone else has brought up another opinion. I don't know if you want to engage. We have Just Reason 5868 again.
Okay.
In response to what you said earlier.
Okay, that's his own point of view, and I respect it. So that's it.
All right. Okay. Mr. Jalomi, do you have anyone on stage on space, or would that be all for tonight?
There is no one up on X tonight.
Okay.
Ironically, no one is asking questions on X.
Everyone is, yeah, actually, that's true. Everyone is actually commenting on the live section tonight. I think this would be all for today. It's been a very tough night. As a matter of fact, I don't know how we got through this particular session. It's been quite tough. In fact, even the Yoruba in me came out earlier. I was saying and heterogeneous instead of a heterogeneous. Anyway, you can take the Yoruba girl out of Yoruba land, but you can't take Yoruba land out of the girl. We thank you all for joining us tonight for this particular session, and we hope that you've taken a lot from this lecture that Are gave, and that you'll be able to ponder over a lot of the messages that was passed on. Oh, there's a question that just came in, actually. Just a moment, please, while I quickly grab it. All right, Tara, this is from YouTube. Can you see the questions, Tara?
Okay. This is a wonderful topic. Let me respond. Am I your topic? Am I your question, Yakuro?
All right, I won't.
Thank you so much. The issue about Murik is not different from we had British people. We had some British people that were also joining Adolf. They were also Adolf Hitler supporters during the Second World War. So we had, they were marching in the street of London, thousands of them, supporting Nazi Germany ideology. At the point in time, they were getting funding from Nazi Germany. So we will always have crazy people in our midst. That's the bitter truth. And this is not the first time. I don't want to start mentioning names. Some of us understand history. We all know history. Shari Ibadan Axis. This is not the first time we have people like Murik. We have them, people that they were even confrontational, attacking other people's religion openly, all sorts of things. There was an Egungun called Ololu that women are now not allowed to see in Ibadan. And there was an Islamic cleric in Ibadan that took people and went to go and face, took his Elea, his Umus, and they went to go and face Ololu. And they were now using charms, you know. This is something symbolic of the Ibadan tradition, and you are trying to desecrate it. That happened around, I think, the 80s. But I think the name of that man was Ajagbemo Keferi. I'm trying to be careful about my words. But Ololu is still going and going. Those are as an institution. Where is Ajagbemo Keferi? He's gone. I'm not here to speak against any religion, but I'm telling you that we always have Murik. But the panacea to people like Murik is TYF. We need to intellectually defeat what they are trying to do. You can't just keep quiet and allow them to preach the kind of outline rhetorics. We have to be there to defeat it, and God has really helped us. Because Yoruba land must survive. Yoruba Muslims, Yoruba Christians, Yoruba atheists, Yoruba Isheshe. And as much you have Yoruba blood in you, you must be able to survive within Yoruba land. That's our solution. You must be able to thrive. We must be able to live in peace and harmony. Yorubalism must be the mainstream of our political ideology. We must not allow people to polarize our society. We must be able to separate religion from the state. The Yoruba civilization is a very resilient civilization. This is a civilization that have survived for 1,000 years. So you didn't see TYF coming. They didn't see TYF coming. And we are here during the work of Olodumare with the support of all of you all over the world. Last question here.
There's one more question, but I don't know if you want to engage this. It's regarding the Oba of Iwo and Sokoto Caliphate. Do you want to engage this question?
In terms of Genoa,
this is the question right here.
Kosio Onoli Alliance Kankan. Iwo is very close to Ibadan. It is surrounded by Yoruba-centric towns. It's not even number 5 or number 10, number 8 in the power structure dynamics in Yoruba. They are just looking for, that's what they will be looking for, people they can use. And those people are poor. And because we have a weak state government, near Osun State, that's supposed to have dealt with such a person. And the Yoruba people are doing a good job. Anytime we are discussing the future of the Yoruba race, they don't allow him to go there and discuss anything. We are having a the 4th Global Yoruba Conference next year. If someone like Oluwo is going to be allowed to be there, it's not going to happen. How many of our Islamic cleric not take us serious? Sokoto Caliphate has been looking for a way. If they are not looking for how to be able to create religious tensions, to destroy your empire, to create problems, Iwo was part of the people. It was religious fundamentalists Latiwo that told the Connaughts that they need to invade Yoruba land. So move on, Ejo. So it is something that is expected, but we are surely going to survive. It is left for us to build, to be able to. There are going to be dissidents in Yoruba land, but what we do to survive is extremely critical.
All right, Harry. One more question before we go. All right, can you see the question? Can you hear me? Would you agree that our main problem is to do with enlightening our educated middle class and what modern patriotism is all about? Nigeria and its setup would not be acceptable in European world.
Yeah, I agree.
So okay, so that's what you're going to say about it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that will be it for tonight. Thank you very much, everyone.
We need to thank people on TikTok.
Yes.
I want
Thank
to greet. I'm greeting all my brothers and sisters on TikTok. God will continue to be with you. Tell your friends and family about this powerful program where we talk about geopolitics, where we talk about history, where we talk about identity, where we talk about the future of the world, of the Sahel. You know, we need as many people as possible to come and listen to these words of wisdom. We need you. Without you, we cannot be able to reach the millions of the unreached. TYF is an institution. And we did not do this without the help of God and the help of people that are listening to us. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà ní Facebook, mo kí yín gan. God bless you at all times for liking our post, for retweeting. May Olódùmarè continue to be with you. For our wonderful viewers on Twitter, ẹ̀yin gangan mo kí yín. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà ní Twitter space, àtẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà ní Twitter, tẹ́ wò wá live. There are thousands of people watching on Twitter space, on Twitter live. May Olódùmarè continue to be with you and empower you. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín gan o. Kò ṣe pé mo mọ̀rọ̀ sọ, kò ṣe pé àmọ̀rọ̀ sọ, kò ṣe pé àmọ̀ ṣe. It is because of the faith and the trust that you have in us. I also want to greet those our people on YouTube. Ẹ̀yin gan ni ẹ ṣé jù. We thank you so much for subscribing, for liking it, the questions, the brilliant questions, the suggestions. We are so grateful. We are so grateful. This year has been a wonderful year, a year of consolidation for Yoruba nationalism. We are so grateful that we are doing something great. I'm using the word we because TYF belongs to all of us. Because this is the battle tank that we believe that it is going to be able to fight through during this period of multipolarity. We always need your feedback. Give us your feedback. How can we get this program better? How can we be better? If you have skills that you can also bring in, come and join us. We will be happy to have you on board. We need your prayers, especially for the team. We also need your financial support. In any way you can support us. Go to our website, because these productions, everything you see, it costs huge resources for us to be able to mobilize from Africa to America to Europe to different places of the world, because there are people within TYF as an institution, Think Yoruba Force as an institution, that every day of their life, this is what they do in order to ensure that the Yoruba race has a very structured path, have a very structured block that can be able to speak for them, that can be able to defend them, that can be able to give them a voice in this very, very dangerous world. The world has become more dangerous because we saw Germany is rearming for the first time since 1945. Because many people thought that they would never see a Germany that is rearming again. But right in our lifetime, we have seen what it is not, but what so many people think it's impossible, we are seeing it. We are going to need your help at all times in retweeting, in reposting, and in your continuous prayers for all of us. Let us continue to think Yoruba Force at all times. And if you really want to join us, go to our website, www.thinkyorubaforce.com.org. We are also going to be unveiling the TYF PAC, the Political Action Committee, because we need to start organizing massively, politically. You want to participate in politics. You want to believe, you have political aspirations. We've created a powerful platform where you can engage, you can belong. And this is not just a Nigerian organization. It's a global organization. Whether you're in America, whether you are in Australia, this is for you. We have to do this. Nobody's going to do it for us. Don't say our politicians were audacity. No. We have to build this house by ourselves. It is those that dared to change, that dare challenge the status quo, that are going to change the course of destiny. And we are going to use everything humanly possible through wisdom, tact, and diplomacy, without being aggressive or overly aggressive, in order to get this done. I also want to thank the entire executives of TYF, Amokinyi, that work day and night for us to be here. It is everything you see here. So with our pain, with our fine faces, there's so much pains behind the scene. So many, strong. We are trying to get things done. And I also want to say this: there are more than 20 TY social media handles, from LinkedIn to Facebook to several states and regional chapters handles on Twitter, on TikTok. But let me tell you something. I, the president of the organization, do not control a single platform. So if anybody, you see anything on those posts and you want to clarify, send DMs, because this belongs to you, so that we can become better and better. To build is one of the most difficult things to do, especially nationalism. Well, you see what the Jews have done. You've seen what the Turkish people have done. You saw what the Fulanis have done. Yeah, it's a bitter truth. You've seen what the Chinese have done. How the Indian community, even you see the Somali community in America, how organized and powerful they are for them to get the attention of the White House. You've known that they've done it is a great job. To build an institution is not easy, because the Yoruba need an institution to survive, as many as possible. So what has been poured into this for us to survive, for TY to get to this, it has really, really cost us a lot. That money, time, that's taken a lot and taken a lot of things out of our soul and spirit. But we need your help for us to get to the promised land. Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀ o, Olódùmarè á wà pẹ̀lú wa o. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Share, for that closing. We've established again on this series that Nigeria is a country of nations, and that Nigeria is not a homogeneous country. So we'll see you again next week on another section where we'll go in depth into another case study. I hope, Are, and I hope to see you all here in good health, with sound mind, and with a lot of zeal to learn and to get a lot of to capture a lot of information and messages. So we'll see you next week. Ẹ ṣé gan ni. Ó dàárọ̀, ojú á tún wa rí o.